Hello, everybody. My name is Jade Robertson, and I will shortly be welcoming my co-host, my cohort, Mr. Nicholas Jansen, to the live stream. Hello, happy summer 426, and hello, Nicholas Jansen. Well, without further ado, let me welcome him into the Wildfire Live. Hello, brother.
Hello, my brother and friend.
How are you, sir? We have Ronan Stunts in the house tonight. We've got Mr. Wayne Wells here.
Hello.
Hello, Wayne.
We're back. Xander. The great Xander. How's my lighting? It might be just shadowy on my display because of the chat on the bottom here.
Light's great.
All right.
Hey, Xander. How's it going, man?
We're back once again.
There we are.
Broadcasting on two different frequencies.
Here we are, my man.
Opposite ends of the city, but you know what? We're together in spirit.
Absolutely. Well, I thought we'd maybe sing a little song. I don't have my guitar, but maybe we could sing it a cappella for the viewers watching. It might be a little cringy, but
When is it not?
well, I guess we'll just have to go right into it.
Xander's watching from Alabama.
He's on a Robert De Niro film.
Sweet Home Alabama.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last
Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave it away.
This year, to save me from tears,
I'll give it to someone special.
and last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
But the very next day, you gave it away.
This year, to save me from tears.
I'll give it to someone special.
Special. And one more time.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
But the
Very next day, there's a slight delay. This year, to save me from tears,
I'll give it
give
to
it to
someone
someone special.
special. Thank you for that, Nick.
Thank you.
Well, without further ado, and to get rid of whatever just happened there in that moment, to move on. The fire is wild as we welcome our next live guest onto the show.
Absolutely.
Ladies and
Gentlemen, and everyone watching.
our director and prolific first AD, Mr. Ryan Port.
Well, what can be said about Mr. Port?
Well, born in Hitchin, England, Ryan spent his formative years with spells residing in both Canada and the United Kingdom. He started to develop a love for creative writing during middle school, but his specific passion for filmmaking began at just 8 years of age, when some friends introduced him to horror classics such as The Lost Boys of 1987, The Monster Squad of 1987, and of course, Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984. A graduate of the University of Lincoln's Film and Television program in 2004, Ryan has since worked internationally as a first assistant director and second unit director alongside a variety of celebrated filmmakers in a career spanning over 15 years.
Now residing in Toronto, Canada, Ryan makes his directorial debut with the comedy horror short film, The Last Christmas, a love letter to the classic 80s and 90s horror and adventure movies that inspired him as an artist and as an individual. And we are very stoked, one could say super stoked, to explore Ryan's creative journey with a specific focus on The Last Christmas, as you heard in our beautiful song, Jade's shirt, we're repping tonight, as well as sharing some stories from behind the scenes of the breadth of projects he's encountered throughout his career. So, shall we?
That we shall.
Whoa.
I've invited. Oh, there he is.
Oh, hello.
Nice shirt, mate. Nice shirt.
I feel underdressed.
I'll send you one in the post, man.
Fantastic. Welcome.
And who told you guys that Wham song was my inspiration for The Last Christmas? Who told you?
I was just went off pure assumption there. It's a great song. So I think it inspired a lot of people.
Of course, yeah, it definitely has inspired a lot of people, yeah. Firstly, I just want to say thanks a lot for having me on, guys. It's a real honor and a
Of course.
privilege to be here with you. I'm a big fan of what you're doing. You know, you give indie filmmakers an opportunity to showcase their material, and yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Awesome work.
Absolutely.
Keep it up.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. We're excited to talk to you as well as get the word out and people interested in your film, The Last. Uh, but first and foremost, start slow. We don't want to go too in depth yet. I want to ask a very basic question. I mean, answer it however you'd like. You don't have to prep or anything. Nick, take this one.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jade?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Good.
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. Thank you.
Perfect.
Nick, you're well?
I'm as well as can be.
That's good.
And next, I guess we want to know what kind of movies, TV show, other media have you been consuming lately, or have you been invested in lately?
I haven't actually been watching too much recently. Well, nothing new really. I've just come off a 3-month show on location, so watching a lot of like AMC classics like Lake Placid, the Jurassic Park trilogy, all of that fun stuff. It's usually on every week. I've been watching Ted Lasso, which is very good. I mean, the realistic side of the soccer is questionable, but there's a lot of heart and great storytelling in there, so I'm enjoying that a lot. Apart from that, I tend to kind of watch films similar to kind of what I'm writing or working on at the time to kind of see what not to do, make sure I'm not doing anything that's been done before, and to kind of get into the vibe of like what I'm writing. So I've been writing a witch feature recently, like a kids adventure movie. So unfortunately, I've been working my way through the Potter movies. It gets harder with every movie to keep going.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. It's a commitment.
It is, yeah. I don't know how far I am. I mean, maybe 5 or 6, but it's a struggle to keep going.
I'm surprised those movies kind of trained me as a child to sit through like 2.5-hour movies. I'm quite surprised that it kept my attention for that long.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah.
I have no interest in what happens to Harry Potter. Like, I don't care for him as a character. Like, you know, Ron Weasley and those kind of characters, the peripheral characters seem to be better and have more of an arc than him.
Sure.
But hey, I do apologize to any big Harry Potter fans out there, Nick.
That's all right. I was called Harry Potter as a child, but that's about all.
That's why you grew the beard, is it, to escape that?
Differentiate, yeah.
Nice.
Ryan, where are you from?
I'm from England, just north of London originally, probably like Mississauga to Toronto distance. And as you kind of mentioned in that very nice biography of mine there, I was back and forth a little bit as a kid. I first moved to Canada in 1993, and I was here for 4 years there till 97. So I saw the Blue Jays win their back-to-back. The Leafs were pretty good back then, and the Raptors were incepted. And then I went back to England, and you know, just high school, secondary school happened, film school, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So to answer your question swiftly, I'm from England originally.
What were your like childhood years growing up in England like? Moving from what sort of was no more.
You're breaking up a little bit there. Is the question, what was it like growing up in England, and what was the transition to Canada like?
Yeah.
Growing up in England was pretty cool at that age. There was a big, you know, wave of American pop culture going on with the 80s and 90s kind of horror and adventure movies, as I mentioned. So I always grew up watching those with my mates and friends, and we'd, you know, we're English, so we play a lot of soccer. we'd have water fights in the summer and like pretend that we were those kind of like action adventure kids doing that kind of thing. And as you mentioned, I had a couple of friends whose parents let them watch whatever. So they were watching Alien and Chud and The Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that at like 7 or 8. So I was fortunate enough for them to sneak me over there and let me watch quite a few of them, which I would say, you know, inspired me and spurred me on at a young age onto the path of what I want to do.
Awesome.
And as for the transition to Canada at the age of 10 and being, you know, like being an English kid that was absorbing all this American pop culture, I kind of saw Canada as part of America or the same kind of thing. At that time in the 80s and stuff, you're not really taught much about Canada. And even some of my friends at film school in England thought Canada was a state of America. So you're not spoken about as much as you should be. So I was very excited and looking forward to going and becoming part of that world that I'd been watching in movies and TV shows and stuff. And I remember I was sitting on the back of the sofa gloating like it was like our grandparents and everyone had come around to say goodbye to us, kind of like the final visit. And I remember I was sitting on the back of the sofa like Emilio Estevez in Young Guns and just like speaking in an American accent, just celebrating how I was leaving them all behind and going to Canada, the true land of the free. At that age, the transition was fine. You know, I was young enough to just go straight into middle school, and I moved to like a small town where there were a lot of kids, neighbors. So I made a lot of friends and stuff. So that was cool.
Talking a little bit about these passions for filmmaking and storytelling, what was it like finding your voice through these stories, both watching them and then eventually, you know, I guess coming up with your own film ideas?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I always found myself to be explorative, imaginative, and you know, have an intrigued mind. So it was very easy for me to. I was always quite action-packed and a little bit of a troublemaker at school and like with my dad and stuff. It was very easy for me to picture myself as like those characters in Stand By Me and The Goonies and Little Monsters, stuff like that. So I guess I could just relate to them in their character and the want to go on those adventures and save the day and blah, blah, blah. So I guess I connected with that from a very young age. And I have a lot of those movies still up here, and I try and watch them every year. And I've always liked those kids' adventure movies, and like at the late 90s, early millennium, they all kind of vanished and disappeared. And I very much wanted to be a person that brought them back. And obviously, I have not been that person. People have beat me to the punch there. Obviously, Stranger Things is out, and that spurred a new kind of wave of all these kind of movies.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I just connected them with a young age and just carried that with me. And an important thing to me is like I think film, you know, influences us as individuals as much as the people we meet in life. And there's a lot of like heartwarming stuff and good themes and things in those kind of movies that, you know, help you become a good person and teach you how to grow up and deal with certain things and stuff like that. So I guess as a filmmaker, I want to project those themes and continue to kind of give positive energies and things like that to future generations.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. Jeez.
Good answer. Good answer. I guess just jump ahead and going into. But what was your first AD job? How did you get started?
The first AD job I ever did.
Yeah.
It was in England. I had an interview with an independent producer who was self-funding a couple of features, or he'd got a little bit of private investment. This is well, when was this? 2005, something like that. So we're talking 16 years ago. I had an interview with this guy. I'd only been an office PA and a couple of PAs on short films. And he was interviewing me as a production manager. And like I say, it was an indie movie, so it was probably only like £250,000, which is $400,000 to $500,000. And I had the interview, and he said that he saw a part of himself in me, so he gave me a chance. And that was for 2 features back to back. The first one, they went to camera without an AD. So I, as the PM, just kind of naturally had to fill in points where they were lagging behind, or the crew, who were quite experienced, were requesting an AD. And then the second film, I did AD, and we brought in a different PM. So that was the first time I ever AD'd anything. That was in a house, 1 location, 4 characters. They basically got a letter from Elvis Presley. Apparently, years and years ago, he sent out a bunch of just random letters to people when they're worth money. So they found that letter, and they're 2 couples, and they fight over it.
Okay.
So that was my first one. That was cool enough. Relatively easy because it was just in 1 location. So if you didn't pick up a scene, you'd get it the next day, that kind of thing. So it wasn't too bad.
Nice. Next. I guess, keeping in with this idea of the first AD, I guess building quality teams, what do you look for in your ideal team, and how do you define your style as an AD compared to others?
Well, team first. Whenever I'm looking for a team, I'm always looking for kind of like calm, level-headed individuals. I'm quite calm and relaxed, and not too loud and boisterous myself. So I kind of like that to be the general vibe of my team, pretty chill, cool, and relaxed. You've got to be cool, calm, and collected as an AD because you deal with a lot of fires and a lot of different personalities and temperaments and stuff like that. So, being a psychologist is quite handy because you've got to, as I just said, deal with lots of different people, different personalities, and also kind of motivate those different personalities and work out how you get people like Jade to work or Nick to work, so forth. I've been pretty blessed with the people I have found and been recommended over the years. I had an awesome second AD, Christina Small, for many years, who is now a first AD. Is now a respected, prolific first AD in her own right. And I just worked with Lauren Cowley, who is a great second AD. She wishes to be an AD for her whole life. If you find any of those, then grab hold of them and keep them forever. So I hope to establish a good working relationship with her. So yeah, I like to keep being good at multitasking is obviously essential because that is one of the keys of the role, as well as communication. So those are all kind of key elements for me when finding team members. As for my personal style, it's hard for me to relate myself to other first ADs because there is only one. Even on like big shows where you alternate with another first, you don't necessarily see them on set. You might hear things from other people, but that could just be conjecture or bias or whatever. So I don't really take that to stock. So, I mean, I know that old school ADs were a bit more kind of iron-fisted and screamy and shouty and abusive, well, for want of a better word, abusive to crew. And I don't think that is what contemporary first ADs are like, maybe from the last 10 years onwards. So the latter is kind of what I prefer. Like I say, I'm kind of relaxed, I'm pretty chilled out. I like that to be the vibe of the set, because if it's frantic, if it's stressed, then that, filters through to everyone, and the product you get at the end of the day isn't as good. I like to keep it fun on set because at the end of the day, it is very challenging, especially with the different types of people and the different things you have to achieve with those different people. It can be very stressful. You encounter problems every day. And at the end of the day, we are kind of working in the industry in the dream world we want to. For want of a better expression, we're not serving fries or plowing driveways or cleaning gutters or anything like that. So we should be enjoying ourselves as much as possible when still doing the job, of course. As Jade knows, I like to refer to myself as a disheveled court jester. But yeah, it's like, it sounds worse than it is, but it's funny, so that's kind of why I like it. But like, I like to keep it fun. I like to have banter, maybe more so than I should, but it always seems to go down well with the crew, and they always seem to respect me and like working for me, which is the main thing, right? Like, you got to lead by example and respect, because these people are following you and working for you and the director and the producers. And if they don't respect you, if they think you're a dick, they're not going to give you that extra 10, 20%. And I find that the reviews I get are generally related to what I'm trying to do, which is great to hear. And I keep getting employed, so something's going right. Or maybe just people don't notice I'm shit.
Got some
I can swear, right? It's starting to happen.
Oh,
We've got some questions in the chat. People can also use
Oh God!
the question feature.
You didn't tell me that was a thing, man.
Well, there's a guy that's asking, Tommy Murphy is asking, how many people do you have to yell at daily as the first day?
How many people do I have to yell at?
Yeah.
Well, as I just said, I try to avoid yelling at people. I'll only lose my shit maybe once or twice a year or two, and if it happens, you know. But in general, I think the question is how big a cruise, maybe. So that can vary, like from 15 up to 200, that kind of thing, depending on what project you're on, how many cast members and whatever you have on a daily basis. But like I say, I generally try not to scream. It's all tonal, right? It's all tonal.
Absolutely.
right.
Sabrina and here. And Lucy, where's past Dave?
What's that, man?
Lucy appreciates your fun, but she's also
Thank
asking,
you.
where's the cast dude?
Where's the cast dudes? I think I'm the only AD on that show you got any paperwork from, aren't I?
Tommy, my first time working with Ryan was an army show. Put me in the back of the other actors. Well, Tommy.
Oh wow, was Tommy on that end of war show?
Yes, so.
Oh wow.
Pretty cool. Thanks, Tommy.
Tommy's a good man. He's a good dude.
Well, so you've obviously been problems now that you're in the guild. Finding your way as a DGC member, what's it been like?
Again, you're cutting out, but I think I know what you're asking me. So I've been back in Canada now for, I think I'm in my 11th year now. And I did a lot of PMing in England as well as a little bit of And when I came to Canada, I wanted to focus on the first ADing, so I kind of left the PMing behind. And I've been in the guild now full-time for 2 years, or coming up to 2 years. And in the 10 years prior, I would get permitted onto certain shows and stuff like that. So they were aware of me, and I don't want to say they wanted me, but whenever I was getting permitted on a show or whatever, they would try and get me to become a full member. But I was working so much and was so successful and turning so many gigs down in the indie world, I never needed to join the guild. I knew it would be a necessary evil at some point because it's a step on the ladder that you have to take. if you want to get on bigger shows and earn more money and, you know, cement a future for yourself in the industry. And also, of course, if you want to direct anything big or anything worthwhile, then again, it's a step on that ladder. So I always put it off because I never needed it, but knew it would come at some point. And I was kind of waiting for a gig that would force me to join. And ideally that would be like a TV show for 3-4 months, something like that. It was not a TV show, but it was a feature film with a couple of producers I'd worked with before. And I just decided it was time to join. And it's good. I mean, you get a lot of benefits, and there are, they have, like, there's funding opportunities for guild members and things like that. I think the last thing I saw was a 35 grand for a short film. So they have all those kind of things for their members, which is great. Mm-hmm. But it is like anything. It is almost starting again in a way. Like I know less PMs and producers in the guild than I did in the indie world, for example.
Right.
So again, you're trying to build a network, not starting from scratch like when I did 10 years ago when I moved back here. But you're still, I mean, you are starting again somewhat. And I'm trying to build my network within the guild at the moment. I'm working enough. And getting decent shows, so it's okay.
It's good.
It's not crisis time or anything like that. And onwards and upwards. You know, it's just like anything. You just got to build credits. Like when you start in the indie scene, you build credits. Yep. The more credits you get, the more shows you get, and the bigger shows. And like I say, onwards and upwards. Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about the filmmaking craft?
Who are you asking? The first AD or the director? I guess it's the same answer, really. But I'll answer it more from the directing standpoint. And like I say, it's similar for both.
Sure.
So as a first and in a director, it's the collaboration. It's the different keys and the different specialists coming in with their ideas and their skills and so forth. And the reason I want to kind of answer that from the director standpoint more than the first AD standpoint is when I directed The Last Christmas, or as I was going into it, I didn't think I would want any of that. As the director, I was like, this is my script, I've written it word by word, this is what it's going to be, I know everything I want, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as like I started going on the tech scouts, talking to special effects, meeting Chris Crane, the production designer, the ideas from other people were so valuable, and I thrived on just working with so many creative individuals. So it was the collaboration is the best part for me. As a first AD, another great thing, and as a director and any crew member, is achieving the goal at the very end. Knowing that you worked those 90 days or 15 days, 5 days, whatever, plus prep, and you achieved what you guys set out to do.
Mm-hmm. Rock and roll. Are there any projects that you've worked on over the years that have just struck you as like the most ambitious, most scale, and maybe the most difficult to achieve?
I mean, in the indie world, in the independent world, all projects are ambitious to an extent. Just because of the nature of the indie world and the tightness of budgets and smallness of crews and things like that. The most ambitious project I ever did that kind of stands out, I don't want to say names and stuff, it all worked out fine in the end, but it was like a Nightmare on Elm Street, but about a guy that came through water and stuff. So there were a lot of water gags, a lot of drownings, like the deaths were all drownings. So heavy special effects, heavy stunts, heavy production design, because like they built this hero bathtub that this guy comes out of and drags people into his lair and things. And I was just reading, and it was only like a $250,000, $400,000 indie Canadian feature. So as I was reading the script, I was a little bit skeptical, but I was like, well, they've got all this in here, so I guess they know what they're doing. And then we discussed it all, and it seemed that they did know what they were doing, and we turned up, and they built heaters, and they had all the piping, they had all the special effects, and all the gags set up correctly. It was just we were shooting in the winter in a little studio, and a lot of the piping and stuff froze. So we couldn't actually do a lot of the gags, not for the fault of production or whatever. And the bathtub in particular was built poorly and would leak all the time. So we would never be able to shoot any of the shots of this guy coming out and dragging these girls into the tub. And the director and I would just find each other like standing, flipping off the bathtub and being like, fuck you, bathtub, you defeated us again. But we eventually loaded up all the shots we owed with the bathtub and hammered them all off on one day and got it to work. And like I say, it was very ambitious just with the amount of gags and stuff, drowning. Water, you know, I've worked with pretty much every element and kid and animal you can, but water does what it wants. Like, it's an uncontrollable element. So you can plan it as much as you want, but once you get there and you're dumping gallons of water around or drowning people, it's not going to be the way you expected. But like I say, everything worked out in the end, and it's a really cool movie. And those guys have like progressed, and they're getting bigger budgets, and everything they make looks awesome. They're the Black Fawn guys.
Nice. Speaking of uncontrollable elements, I was wondering if you could take a look at this photo and tell me what's going on here.
What do you think's going on there, Jade?
Well, I think there's a lot of learning going on in this moment, I feel like. A lot of communication and a lot of collaboration.
Definitely some collaboration, yeah, a lot of communication. So that's the wonderful Richard Dreyfuss, who I would call RD, and he would call me the BBC because I'm English. He would call me the BBC. And why did you do this, Jade? He wasn't the best with his lines. So that was basically us going through this like 3-page dialogue scene that he is like running. Like, he has the 3 pages of dialogue. He like comes into this office room and just spouts off this monologue. And it was taking us a long time to get through the rehearsals and stuff and get through the lines with him. And I think in that photo, he is telling me something about like this piece of dialogue isn't needed or something like that. And as you can see from my face, I'm very, very impressed with the time that is being taken from my day. So yeah, thanks. Nice. Thanks, Jay.
No problem.
Talking about your stance on the nature of the industry, taking a quote from you saying, you do the same thing every day, but in a different place with different people. Does that keep the work interesting and sustaining for you on a day-to-day?
Yes, that's. I think I kind of like cheated a little bit by saying the work is the same every day. The reason I say that is because I've been doing it so long now. Like, every day, like, let's say I had a problem on set today, tomorrow's problem will be a different physical problem, but it will be the same situation for me. Right. And I've just dealt with so many issues on a daily basis that you just kind of move on from them now and like don't dwell on them. And like, even the kind of crazy stories that have happened to me over the years, I just kind of forget them all. They all kind of get replaced by others. And then the more you work in the industry, you just realize this is a daily thing. So you don't hold on to those stories as much anymore unless they're massive and really elaborate and absurd. What was the second part of the question, sorry?
Does that keep the work interesting or sustaining for you?
That's it. Yeah. So my favorite thing about the industry is obviously I like different elements of all the different stages and things like that. But my favorite thing of working in film overall is the places it takes you and the people you meet.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I, film brought me from England to Canada, and now I'm sitting here talking to Jade and Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And my last show was in Niagara Falls, and I lived there for 3 months. And I had a balcony, and my view was the falls. And I met a lot of cool people on that show. And I got to travel to the Alps to shoot some snowboarding. I got to go to the Rockies to shoot a car commercial. We are very lucky in our industry to have those as almost standard things. It's like, I got a call to go to Montreal for a couple of months. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen to every industry and every work. And I think we should be very grateful that we get the opportunity to see all these places and to meet all these very interesting and cool people within our industry, because we're all creative, we're all dreamers, and it's a great mix of people,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Talking about second unit directing, moving on up and getting your feel for that position in regards to the film or the series you were just on called Take Note. I was just curious just what that was like, but also looking ahead, is that something you expect to get a lot more of the second unit directing experience under your belt?
I don't expect anything. I would like to. Yeah, I mean it's all credits and it's all feathers to the bow that help you move up the ladder I mentioned earlier, and helps me move towards my end goal of directing. Right.
Yep.
So basically, ever since I directed The Last Christmas, which we shot over a year ago, the post has been a long process. That's given me the confidence. I hate to say I am a director because I've only done one short and it's not even out there yet, and who knows, everyone might think it's shit. So I hate to say I'm a director, but since I directed The Last Christmas, it's given me a confidence that I can. So if I'm ever firsting a show and second unit is mentioned, I will instantly start elbowing the PM and the line producer, oh, I just did this, I can do that, blah, 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 give me an upgrade, whatever. Mm-hmm. So on Take Note, which I just worked with a couple of buddies of yours, Jade's, Mo Ray was the production manager, love Mo, and Aya Hart was the production coordinator. On Take Note, there was it's like an American Idol for kids, where it's a narrative, so you follow the competitors. It's not just kids performing music; it's like a narrative storyline. There were a couple of those confessional booth scenes from Big Brother. I don't know if you remember that. And we couldn't fit them on the schedule. And straight away, I was like, let's just put them all on second unit day and I'll do them. They ended up cutting those scenes, but we had a day of all the crowd stuff. So 250 people in a massive theater. And again, once I heard that was happening, I was nudging the producers of oh, yeah, I can do this. And I rescheduled the show for them because we dropped quite a lot of stuff in the first couple of blocks. So I rescheduled the whole show to save the show, as it were.
Right.
And from the back of that, the kind of executive producer, loved me, and she came and told me my reward from doing that was to do the second unit.
Right.
And that was cool. I enjoyed it. The crew and the background enjoyed it far more than I expected them to. It was pretty simple. It was just crowd reactions, right? So I had to do tiling to fill up the auditorium. And then I would just run 7 generic crowd reactions, and then maybe 4 or 5 per episode. So I had to cover 10 episodes.
Right.
So I just ran that for like 8 hours, and I basically just stood up on stage with the microphone and just did like a stand-up evening with Ryan Port, and the BG loved it, and like the crew, I couldn't believe it. The crew were coming up to me at the end of the day, thanking me that they could be there with me and see that. And I was just like, I wasn't even on form. Like I was just like, you know. But we had a great BG that did really good stuff and an awesome crew. So, like I say, it was just kind of like crowd reaction. So it was pretty simple. It wasn't blowing up cars or any of that kind of stuff. But again, like I say, it's cool to do. It's a credit.
Yeah.
It keeps me moving up that ladder. And now on the DGC website, it says I can also do that. So people can phone me for that as well now. So
Nice.
Yeah, the more the merrier of that. And yeah, keep climbing that ladder.
Call Ryan Port if you need a second unit director.
Or a stand-up comedian.
Or a stand-up comedian that can perform for 8 hours straight.
Well, there was the union lunches in there, man. The union lunch and a couple of sub breaks as well. Subs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gotta have your set breaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on making those moves.
Thank you.
And into kind of the reason I think we wanted to bring you on here is to talk about The Last Christmas and this project of yours that you decided to undertake a little while ago. The post has taken its time, but I want to just kind of go right back to the beginning of where sort of the title came to you and the idea came to you and that process of getting that on paper.
Well, I've always, like I say in my biography there, when I moved to Canada in the 90s, I discovered creative writing in middle school, which was a lesson that you guys had that we didn't have in England. And you were far more up on like us doing book reports and stuff like that every month. So I got reading Michael Crichton books, like Jurassic Park was massive at the time, and Congo and all that. So I enjoyed him a lot, and I got into the writing, and I wanted to be an author at the time because I didn't know scripts were written basically at that time. So I've been writing from that age. Started with novels and stuff, and then just kind of discarded those. And then I've been writing scripts, you know, since I was like 16, 17. But I never could come up with short ideas, always features. There were one or two short ideas I would come up with, but then they would explode into features no matter how much I tried to contain them. And then 2 years ago, I was on set of like a murder mystery show, and a dolly track, like an old dolly track, hadn't been stowed away properly, and it fell onto my foot and broke my toe. So I had no choice. Well, I guess I had a choice, but basically what I chose to do, well, I couldn't work. So I was at home for about 3 weeks, and what I did was smoke weed and watch all the Marvel movies. My roommate at the time was big into the Marvel movies, and I was like, I guess the whole world is consumed with Marvel movies. I guess I'm doing it.
Right.
And then at some point during that, and I'm not giving Marvel any credit, I just came up with the idea of this girl trying to capture Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and it going wrong. And I was like, this is a short idea that I have to go with because of what I just said. Like, all my other ideas have always been features. So that was the birth of it. And I always say this to people, it's more like a situation opposed to like a narrative. I mean, I guess like anything, you can break it down and find the hero's journey in there if you want to. But it's very much a situation that these people have to deal with. And so basically once I came up with the spark of the idea, I wanted to create a project that was obviously a love letter to the movies that had inspired me as a kid, the horrors and the adventure movies from the 80s and the 90s. But I also wanted to like showcase what I consider my strengths, which is dialogue, directing actors, and then why not just throw in a bit of gore and some puppetry as well, just to show I can do that, maybe. So yeah, so I kind of went with that. And as I was developing it, I've never been a big fan of Christmas, to be honest. I don't dislike it, but I've never been a massive Christmas fan. And I actually like Christmas a lot more now because I can kind of see a darkness within it. I don't hold on to that darkness during Christmas, but as I was writing and developing it, you come across, there are a lot of negative themes within Christmas, like jealousy and, desire, like you want gifts, greed, stuff like that, which are all kind of sugar-coated and overlooked at when it's actually very negative themes. So I enjoyed incorporating those into the script. And yeah, like I say, I've always been inspired by the kids' action adventure movies, horror movies. So I wanted to have a child actor in there that's like a bit more adult than they are as a kid, or kind of a bit like out there a little bit more. So yeah.
Very cool. In terms of, I guess, the timeline of when it went from on the page to securing the budget, casting the film, and hiring the key crew, if you want to maybe shout out anybody that helped bring the vision to life and some of those experiences of assembling the team.
Of course, yeah. I have a very good friend of mine, Mo Ray, who I've mentioned already. He's a production manager, line producer, and producer. So him and I met probably 10 years ago on one of my early shows in Canada, and we've become friends. So him and I have always, chatted about personal projects and always planned on working together on personal projects. So Mo was kind of like my right-hand man. He took care of like a lot of the paperwork, dealing with ACTRA and all the kind of like producery things I'd never dealt with or experienced before. So I'm very thankful to Mo. And also had Mafalda Gugliuzzi, another PM line producer who I met on Bizarre Murders. She came in and produced and PM'd as well. And then Christina Small, my second AD, she helped out a lot in prep. And she first did the show, so she killed it. And on top of that, I'd always knew who I wanted to be my director of photography, Fraser Brown. I met Fraser similar, not on the same show as Mo, but a similar time to Mo. And Fraser was probably on 3 or 4 of my first 5, 6 shows in Canada. And we became pretty chummy. And the reason I wanted Fraser is he's an amazing guy. He's a cool dude, really down to earth. But I'd been on set, like I'd first did a show that he'd been a DP for, and I'd seen him do what I want. And then I checked I'd seen him do it live. Then I checked his show reel out and thought, lighting and visual styles are very similar. Right. So I always knew I wanted him when the time came. And years passed and we hadn't worked together, and I was still in the indie world, and Fraser was flying off to Hollywood on Hardy Boys and all kinds of shit. So I remember the email I sent to him was like, "Do you remember me? And like, I know you're in Hollywood now, but hey, do you want to come and work for free for me for a couple of days?" And instantly he responded and was like, "Yes." And that's what's amazing about Fraser is, he's on, is it the Dan Brown's Symbol?
The Lost Symbol, yeah.
The Lost Symbol. So he established Kim's Convenience, he established Hardy Boys, he did Blood and Water. Like he's, in the last few years, just skyrocketed. But like I say, he's down to earth, he keeps his feet on the ground, and like, he loves passion projects. And if he likes you, and if he likes the project, then he's willing to come out. I mean, I might have burnt the bridge now, but I got him. But yeah, I would love to work with Fraser forever if he wants me. And on top of Fraser, I was lucky enough to get Chris Crane as my production designer. Probably one of Toronto's best and most sought after production designers, much like Fraser in the last few years. He's skyrocketed as well. And I think Fraser played a big part. I've worked with Chris Crane a few times, but the production design wasn't too heavy on the show, so I knew it wasn't necessarily appealing to him from a showreel perspective or anything like that. And I feel that Fraser's relationship with Chris helped me get Chris into the fray as well. But basically, once I'd secured the crew, I was like, I have my dream team here. And then I just went around to everyone else I knew and respected, like makeup artists, wardrobe, editors, special effects, basically called in every favor from anyone that I'd worked with numerous times and respected and liked, and burnt all those bridges. So it's just going to be me on my own next time.
There you go.
So that was that. I don't know how long the whole prep took. I tried to do it pretty quickly. In regards to casting, I had a few. So basically, I have someone playing Santa Claus. I have the 10-year-old kid who is the star, and then her older sister who's like 18 years old. So I had a couple of girls in mind for the 18-year-old that I'd worked with before, but I knew the key was finding the 10-year-old. So I started looking for her almost instantly, and the longest casting process was with her. We posted the ad, got loads of people apply, got video auditions, went through all of those. Got a couple of second video auditions, then we went and did live auditions, and in the live auditions I'd cast my 18-year-old by that point, so I brought her in to read with the 10-year-old as well. Because like I say, the 10-year-old kind of drives the movie, so it was very important for me to find a decent kid for that, and I feel I did in Miley Hike.
Shout out to Miley.
Pronouncing yeah.
That's awesome.
She'll watch this. She should be in bed, so hopefully she watches this tomorrow. But yeah, Miley is great. Like, she was awesome. She was awesome on set. Great performer. I wish her all the best. I know she's doing really well, keeping busy, and yeah, she's a great supporter of the movie. Any post on Instagram. I mean, even this wildfire thing, I think she put on her story as happening, so yeah, sweet.
Right.
The other actors, just to give them a quick shout out, because I don't want to ignore them or leave them out. AC Peterson was Santa Claus. Have you got a poster of him on your wall there, Jay? Are you going to show a poster of AC?
No, but I know him. I see him all the time.
Yeah. AC, he's one of the most seasoned.
Who just entered the chat?
Who just entered?
AC Peterson's in the house now?
Miley.
What timing? He's one of Canada's most seasoned actors. He's been in 200 movies. I recognized him from a couple of shows I'd seen before when his headshot came my way. And yeah, once he came in for his, he didn't have an audition. He didn't need one. We saw his show reel and his credits and brought him in. And again, to go back to the collaboration, he came in, he had dialogue ideas, just tiny little changes. And as I said before, I would never have kind of thought I would go for that, but he had great ideas, so they were incorporated. And the other actress was Madison Chiatow, who is she was in Guilty Party. I worked with her on that. That's where I met her and got to see her live and see how good she is. And she's on Heartland. She's a regular on the CBC Heartland. So nice. Check that out.
Definitely will do. And yeah, shout out to the great cast you have in here, as well as this awesome Toronto crew, everybody that came out to support the project. I mean, holy hell. I was there. I witnessed it. I was there for one day, helping out with locations and a little bit of DIT, but it was just awesome to see the support for you, man. So I would be there again, and I'm sure everybody else would be too, except for Fraser. Just kidding. But,
he's the only one I want. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like I can't, thank everyone enough and list everyone. So, if any of you care to check out the film or whatever, please go on the IMDb page and look at all the amazing crew members there and take your pick. If you need a DP, get Fraser. If you need makeup, Jen O'Connor, Amber Bentley.
Props, Patrick.
Special effects. Oh, and special effects, of course, the Butcher Shop
Yep.
in Hamilton. Carlos and Ryan, awesome guys, did a great job.
I guess just to talk a little bit, we don't have too much time left here, Ryan, but thank you for your time so far. This has been an awesome interview, man. Are just some of the things that you enjoyed most about making the film? And then on the other side, what are some of the hurdles and challenges that came along the way? So kind of both sides of that question.
Again, my favorite thing, well, one of my favorite things was just being on set. Set is the place to be, whether I'm first ADing, directing or not. It's a great energy being on set. And like I said earlier, the collaboration, just working with all the skilled keys, skilled individuals, the actors bringing their own things to the table, even in post-production, with the editors and audio guys. Everyone's ideas are highly valued, and it's bringing all those kind of creative minds together, those 4 or 5 minds that come up with the one idea for you all to move ahead with. Struggles were, I guess, I've been a first AD for like 15 years, so at times it was difficult for me not to be that. I had my producer mention it to me at one point. Day 1 was fine. Day 2 was a heavier day, so I kind of went in with my AD head on. I'm like, this is how I'm going to fucking do this. And I know, because as I said, Christina Small was my first. I know that I wasn't the ideal director because of those kind of first AD things, and I also I had a lot of inserts in the movie, so I would just go off and shoot inserts with the cam op on my own, like when she's setting up another shot, which is, as a first AD, one of the most disgusting things that could possibly happen. And there's me as a first AD that if that was happening to me would be pissed and hate it, and there I was fucking doing it to her. But what I did do, which I thought was quite funny, because I'm English, I love football, soccer. I said to her, I made a red and yellow card. I don't know if you know, but in soccer, if you get showed a yellow card, it's a warning, and if you get a red, you're sent off. So I made a yellow and a red card for her, and I gave them to her, and I said, if I am ever first ADing too much, show me one of these cards, because I will instantly understand and react to it. Like, if you just tell me to stop, I'll just banter and keep doing it. But if you show me a red card, the football soul will naturally react. And there was one point where she showed me the yellow card, and I instantly stopped and left. So that was cool. But yeah, like I AD'd, I mean, I didn't AD the show, but my mentality was ADing at times, and I will be sure to, like, I don't think it was detrimental, but I just will definitely not do that next time.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I guess I just want to, your heart lies clearly with 80s and 90s horror and adventure. Is that what you see yourself continuing with in terms of your own projects going forward?
I don't like to pigeonhole myself. It's kind of whatever story takes my soul and heart and, makes me want to write it. But I am heavily into the kids' adventure movies. When the pandemic struck, I kind of decided I'm going to come out of this with some scripts. I will use this time wisely. I didn't necessarily get a script finished. I mean, I did a first draft of one that I'm going to call a 0.5. I'm calling it a 0.5 draft because, like, if you were to read it, there'd be some scenes that didn't necessarily make sense or whatever, but if I read it, I know where I want to go. So that was a 0.5. But I ended up doing 3 scripts to that level instead of finishing 1. So my plan's to get the 3 of those done by kind of the end of the year, beginning of the year. 2 of those 3 are kids' adventure movies. Another is more of like a psychological thriller. I'm a big psychological thriller fan as well. Like I like David Lynch a lot and this stuff. So if I'm not writing a kids' adventure movie, it will be something like that.
Right off the deep end.
A different, like 2 ends of the spectrum there. But like, I guess all my kind of 80s, 90s adventure movies have some kind of darkness or horror element to them as well. So damn those friends of mine.
There you go. They got you in, and now you're in for life.
Is the next question is putting you in the hot seat a little bit, and we are always faced with this question ourselves here at Wildfire because we have a film that is just been held up. But we want to ask: is there a release date set for The Last Christmas?
Oh God, I was getting really scared. I was like, "What are you going to ask me?" We finished post audio for the movie a couple of weeks ago, so the movie's 100% ready to go. We're just finishing up post audio on the trailers at the moment, which should be done end of the week.
Nice.
I'm planning to start releasing trailers from the beginning of October.
Okay.
And I'm kind of planning on a Halloween release. However, I can't post it on like YouTube or Vimeo until I've done the festival rounds. So as soon as the trailers are done, I'll start doing the festival rounds. But anyone that worked on it will get a copy for Halloween. So the plan is to kind of get it out there for Halloween and get it going around the festival circuit this Christmas, beginning of next year, and then hopefully make some more next year and start doing it again.
Nice.
That sounds like a good plan.
It's all plans. It's all plans. Yeah.
It's good. Well, I just have one more question for you. It's kind of one of those just sort of, if you're on a desert island and all you can do is make films, what do you think it takes to survive in this industry?
Oh my God.
I mean, like, there's a lot of people that go into this industry and sacrifice a lot for this industry. I hear it a lot. Just the mental health, not being able to have a family, the sacrifices, the body, everything. So I guess from a health perspective, but also from a keeping your healthy career perspective too.
Christ, that's a question, man.
Jeez, Jay.
I'm not sure. I think it's like anything, you've got to want it, right? Like if you want to be a director, you've got to put in the hours, put in the effort, get the money, spend the time, blah, blah, blah. So I think you've got to want it. Set can be a very unforgiving, thankless place, especially for ADs. Like people are quick to tell you you're fucked up, but because you're supposed to make the day, right? So like if you do, no one necessarily says good job or you did well. But if you fuck it up or whatever, then they'll fucking tell you.
Yep.
And again, you have different personalities, different temperaments, different mentalities. Some actors can be difficult. So I guess, you've got to want it because you're going to deal with some shit and you're going to, for want of a better word, you're going to get shit on at times. So you've got to want it to get through that. You've got to be thick-skinned, I guess, to be able to deal with all that kind of stuff because tomorrow's still going to come and you've got to work again. I know this all sounds very negative, but also like, because I've had friends over the years that have tried and failed and left or weren't getting enough work and left. And I guess there is a point, it depends what's going on in your life, right? There's a point where you would have to say, I can't afford this, I've got to move on or whatever. But if you're young, if you don't have any, you don't have a family or any commitments, just keep at it. Keep at it. Like when I moved here 10 years ago, I was starting again. Like I had my credits from England, but it didn't matter.
Right.
Like I needed Canadian experience.
Yep.
That's what I was told. And it's like, well, where do I get that if you don't give me the Canadian experience? And obviously someone did, but like, so 10 years ago I was 28 and I was working for free. Like I would do features for 15 days where I'd get fucking $2,000,
right.
And then I'd go and do a short for nothing to build those credits and stuff like that. And like, I know people don't want to work for free and people don't want you to work for free, blah, 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 but it is kind of a necessary evil, or to at least be paid shit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And just keep at it. You got to build up those credits, get out there. If you want to be a director, writer, make movies, like I said, I never had short ideas, so that was kind of bad for me. But I also kind of waited as well to an extent. So if you have any ideas, if you have a friend with a camera, get out there, make stuff like Robert Rodriguez says.
Love it.
It's all about building that show reel, building up the credits, and getting out there and making people notice you.
Fuck yeah. And finding your people, working with those people, collaboration.
Yeah. Find the people that you like and respect, and keep them close, because you never know when you'll need them and they'll need you. Like if Fraser calls me to help him on his film, then I would do that. Not because he's just helped me, but you know what I mean.
I feel you, yeah.
Yeah. Keep those people close. Keep collaborating. Yeah.
Also,
Man.
Thanks so much.
Do you have anything else, Nick?
No, I just want to thank you, Ryan, for taking the time and helping us out with the promo for all of this and putting all this together. It was a great talk and nice to meet you. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, likewise, Nick. Nice to meet you. And once again, I just want to thank the two of you for thinking I was worthy to be here. It's been a lot of fun. I must admit, in the build up to it, I was a little bit nervous. It's not like a set.
Right.
You guys are cool, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. And like I said at the beginning, thanks for bringing me on. And you guys are doing a great thing here, giving indie filmmakers a platform to talk about their work, showcase their thoughts and their projects and stuff like that. So yeah, keep it up, guys. Thanks a lot.
We'll do. Appreciate you saying that, Ryan. And have an awesome night. And thank you, man, for joining. It's been great. And let's play pool soon.
And thanks to everybody in the chat for a lot of great comments and questions and showing love. Got to shout out the chat.
Yeah, thanks for the questions, guys, and thanks to everyone who stuck around to listen to what shit I had to say. And I hope it wasn't all shit, and that maybe you took something away from this, and it isn't just the fact that you're going to go and watch the trailer for The Last Christmas soon. I got to sit back.
100%. Well, we'll be sure to spread the word on here and elsewhere, and yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
At Last Christmas.
Thanks again, guys.
Follow.
Cheers, guys.
No problem.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.